Hello and welcome into the Sorare Data Show. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined today by psufans2 and Quinny, the latter of whom was playing the violin as the music was going. Quinny absolutely nailed it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. Long time. I feel like since the last time I spoke to you is probably the last time I've seen Sean as well.
It's been a while for Sean too.
Yeah.
I know. Laird's kicked me off for a couple weeks. He's said to disappear, so I did. But I like this topic. I think this topic's a pretty good topic that I have a lot of interest in because I think it's something that's been missing for years. And I think it makes a lot of sense for the platform.
That's why we're all here. Actually, that's why you guys are here. I'm just here to push the start button. But anyway, thanks everyone for coming in. Pico Player, Anyon, and Daniel. Look at this. Shout out to Quinny right there. So thank you, everybody. You three on the podium. DNP Donkey, but will it be a no-card entry comp? Man, do people love talking about that. I'm not even going to go into it. So we're Strats. What's up? Philly Dilly. I realize this is a super boring answer, but I think we need more time with the gameplay as it is before introducing something like this. We're just figuring out how to play divisions. You're right. That is super boring. Moving on. Tom, what's up? Stefan, Mikey Baston, of course. Fist bumps all around. Sora Malta, RJ, and some sort of YouTube ghost here saying the pop-up is blocking me from giving a like on the stream. That's terrible. Do we think this EOL or is this pronounced some way?
I say EOL.
There we go. Nico 6, what's up? Graham, Tyler B, Red or Dead. Thanks everyone for coming in. So Quinny, this topic, the Sorare World Championships, I believe you called it.
Yeah.
You and Harry were talking about it on his lineup stream last week, and then Harry loved the idea so much that he just left his own stream. And then you guys picked it up a little bit on the deadline stream. But if you could summarize it a little bit for the people who are here, either live or after, who did not hear the idea, and then we can dive into the specifics.
Yeah, so it was a sort of an idea that it kind of came to me around when All-Star got taken away back in January, some sort of, and I'm sure like the seed of the idea came from whenever I was chatting to people around All-Star being removed and all the rest of it, because, like the attachment I had to that competition and the place I felt it had really just in the landscape in general of what the game was and whatever. And I kind of forgotten about it. I didn't really pay it much mind, but, with all the stuff that's been kind of happening recently, it was something that kind of came back into the front of my mind again. And especially for Classic, it's something I think that it would add an extra kind of level of prestige to playing with Classic and having some sort of motivation in there, certainly. But in essence, and it's not totally in tablet, this is what it would do or this is how it should work or whatever, but in a roundabout way, you definitely resonated with me on this. I seen it in a comment or maybe it was a message. But when I had Sorare on my channel recently, where we're talking about the revamp of the SO5 arena and prize pools, do more people win stuff, that kind of thing. And one of the things that they came back to me with was more people get podiums now, which, my kind of gut instinct was quite similar to yours, where it's like, well, it's a very contrived thing to say, when you're just, if you go back to what it was, it would just be one leaderboard and now randomly 500th place is now a podium, and now randomly 4,000th place is a podium. So it's not really that there's 4 podiums. It's just that anyway. So, so the idea I kind of thought about was podium, because that's where we want to put some value and put some merit. Podium and Classic, and whatever region you get that podium for, you get your ticket. And then the closing segments of the season, you would need to run this, maybe the last 6 match days, the last month or something like that, where you could have a period where people can try and get the tickets in, of course. And then you've got that kind of end of season crescendo with the people that have qualified. And then it's big season, end of season prize pool and all that kind of fun stuff. One thing I did want in it, or I would want in it, is that where you get your ticket kind of dictates what cards you can choose, because otherwise, it just then becomes an all-star competition. And one of the things that when all-star was removed, the thing that I felt was then missing from the game was the ability for the Celtic stack or the Salzburg stack or whatever to go toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich or Ajax or any other Sporting Lisbon or anyone else you want to throw into it for that matter. So I think it would bring that element back to it. So if you win your ticket from Contender, you're not then just making an all-star team and putting Cecilia and Messi up front all of a sudden, or doing that kind of thing. You're kind of staying true to, and that's what makes it a bit more of like a world championship or a championship. You're coming from your own regions and you're kind of, bashing it out against the other people in it kind of thing. So I think that's the long and short of it. I might have missed something, but I think that's pretty much it.
Just a quick thing on the more people, there are now more podiums. You can make the argument that there are now more fourth place finishers too. And it's like, that's the absurdity of that line. I just remember, like, anyway.
Sounds like a real dumb line.
Anyway. Sean, we are pretty familiar with kind of, I guess they usually call them world championships or whatever they do on a lot of the DFS sites, mostly DraftKings and FanDuel now. We were familiar with one like King of the Pitch, which is not exactly the same as like the live finals, but you have experience with both. So if you could explain to everyone else kind of what your experience has been with a competition like a world championship.
Yeah, so I think that it is a very fun thing, and people typically sink a lot of money into them. So what happens is there are two versions. Typically, there is an online final, which they will sometimes call World Championship. It happens for lesser sports or lesser competitions. So from a Sorare perspective, using that analogy, it would be like the Contender World Championship would be like an online event that like is not as prestigious, I guess I would say, as like the bigger one, and it has smaller prize pool, but it's online, costs are minimal. You don't have to do anything involving events or anything like that. Then they have what is called live finals. Live finals are the massive events. For the NFL season this year, I think it's like a $15 or $20 million prize pool with like $2.5–3 million for first place that happens at the end of the season. What happens for both of these is throughout the season. So like the NFL season is, I think it's like 18 or 19 weeks now. I don't even remember. And throughout the season, they run qualifiers. In order to play in the live final, you have to qualify for the tournament, or sorry, the final, the world championship or whatever it would be. So they have a few different versions, and the qualifiers run all season. They'll maybe run 10 a week, and the winner of that gets an entry into the final. Also with live finals, the live finals typically happen at a impressive destination, whether it be at an event where you go to the sporting event. College football final this year is going to be held at the semifinal of the playoff. You're going to be going to the game. So like if you qualify, you get 2 nights in a hotel I think it's in Houston. You go to the game. The final will take place at the game. So someone will win the final for like $150,000 at the game. They also do them in cool locations. They've done it at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas before. They do them in big cities like New York, LA, different cities. So in order to get to these, you have to qualify, and then they are very extravagant events where the event is a lot of the attention of the entire contest. Where like you're getting flown out, you get a couple nights in hotel. We've talked about this before from like an events and entertainment perspective, where like Sorare flies you out, they put you up in a hotel for a couple nights, they rent out a space. Like DraftKings has rented out hotel conference rooms. They've rented out warehouse in New York where they held an event. That was really cool, and stuff like that. So there are a couple different versions, and I think that you can translate it really well onto Sorare. I've literally been thinking about this since Laird brought the topic up to me yesterday, and have some good ideas on this. I think it's a really good thing, but the key to it, and this is the important thing, because it's a big thing with Sorare, people really want to get to them. They really want to participate, especially the live ones, because what better thing is it to say you competed for the world championship and you got flown out to Lisbon, Portugal to compete against 100 other users for $500,000. Like, it is that type of thing that people sink money into and want to buy and participate for things. So I have some differing opinions to what Quinny might have with this, but also some similar type of things as well to loop everything in it and tie it all together as well.
Yeah, I think the big kind of decision that you have when you're starting to create a competition like this is like Quinny's idea, and Quinny, correct me if I'm wrong, is just like, if you get a podium, at some point during whatever time frame they give, you qualify. And what's a little different with the DraftKings and FanDuel ones that Sean and I are familiar with, and when I say I'm familiar with, I mean I've heard of them. You are actually like entering a specific competition to win a ticket. You're not just like your regular, a regular competition, and if you happen to win that, like you are choosing to not enter like maybe something that you normally would, and you're instead entering a specific one for the ticket. And if you don't win that ticket, you don't win anything usually. Is that right, Sean? Usually all or nothing?
Well, they typically have small amounts, but like it's pretty much like an Uber jackpot prize,
right?
Where like you win the ticket, or if you get second or third. Now sometimes they do like a contest where like top 5 get a ticket to the
true.
That happens too. But like it's typically more so like a very boom or bust thing, which to be fair isn't that much different than a lot of the Sorare stuff, anyways. But like you're not playing for money, like an immediate money impact or like cards impact. You're playing for something that is down the road that is going to be a big event.
Now, usually everyone wins something though if you win a ticket, right?
Yeah, like if you typically like the college football world championship, like the men you win is like $2K. So like the seat value, so there's 100 entries and it's a $750,000 contest. So each ticket value is worth $700 or $7,500, but last place in the tournament, like when it runs, is like $2,000. So like if you finish last, you will get something, just not very much.
So Quinny, my favorite part of your idea was if you win a contender contest to qualify, you have to play contender cards in this. Like, I don't think there is anything that would make this feel like more of a world championship than doing something like that. And I wanted to address this comment from Sorare Soul. He said, are we talking world championship or North America only world championship? It's everybody. Don't worry. It's everyone. But I do love that idea. And that I think would really put an emphasis on a podium at every level. You obviously can break it down tons of ways. Like, is there a Division I world championship? Does the Division 4 entry as much as the Division 1? Because if so, maybe people start to say, maybe I'll try to win my ticket in Division 4. And there's just a ton of ways to do it. Quinny, did your idea include kind of the fanfare that Sean is describing of like live final in enter very sexy European city and we all go there and try to beat each other in some sort of final match?
That's much more 5-star VIP level. I was much more just make it happen. And there's a comment in the live chat saying like, where would the prizes come from? You would just like, they've obviously got prize pools already for the specials, so you just shelf them for 2 months and there you go. Cash, cards, boxes, it's all kind of sitting there allocated for them already. You feel that's certainly the way it seems anyway. So no, I think Sean's got a way better like final vision of what it could be than me, certainly. But I was just more thinking about that fanfare part of it, where you feel like, it's you versus, you're taking your team versus all the big boys, and you've got your chance to swing at something bigger.
Oh, I got it broken down. I got it in my brain. I got some good stuff coming for you.
Love it.
Let's hear them. Let's go.
Okay. So, like Quinny said, first comment that Quinny mentioned. Also, there's stuff in chat and people are like asking questions and like giving thoughts on it. It's going to take a while for us to break everything down. So I would just wait on like questions till towards the end, because I think it will be more relevant. Like you'll get a lot of the info as we go throughout the show. So first comment, Quinny hit on, where are you getting the prize pool from? At this point, I think it's pretty clear that the prize pool, like they have marketing funds. This can be considered a marketing event anyways. Like the marketing they do isn't good. Like this could be something that is a little bit more impressive. And you can use this as like the marketing. Like this is the thing you're marketing for. This is the big ticket item that you're selling to people to come on. So the first thing is like, where do you get the funds from? You peel it from the specials. You peel it from the specials. You peel it a little bit from each of the leagues. You peel it from there. You peel it from they basically, I think Laird, I asked Laird this before the show came on, and Laird said that there was 15 million that they plan to give out, but that was like the floor, and they plan to go over that. And then they also have some special money built up. So like, let's call it $20 million. Okay, let's just call it $20 million over the season. You can lower the number and raise the number; it doesn't matter. It's still going to be relevant. Okay.
The quick whatever to $5 extra million.
Well, I mean, but they've said in the past, like, we're going to raise the prices, like, we're going to raise the prizes, like, okay, here we go.
There is no way there has ever been a we are going to.
Okay, we will if sales go well. Okay, also there is marketing budgets. There are different budgets they're in. So I'm just going to call it 20 million because it makes it easy for the math perspective. You can call it 15 if you want. They said we're giving away 15. If you want to call it 15, we can call it 15. I'm just going to call it 20. So take 10% of the $20 million that you plan to give out for the year. All right, you have $2 million budget for this situation. Now, first of all, and people are going to be upset about this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think it has to be in season in terms of you have to have a requirement to get in, because that is what goes to paying the prize pools, is the in-season money. Now, I'm not saying like, let's make it like, hey, you got to have like 4.5 super rares for this game week to play. No, like keep it at 3, keep it a reasonable number. It gives classic cards value still, because if you can use them, okay. And what we do is throughout the year, we run qualifiers. These qualifiers will be ran at each level: limited, rare, super rare, and unique. What we do is we will run them in each individual league that is fully licensed on the platform. The reason I'm doing this is because those leagues are clearly your like more premier leagues and the more leagues that you're focused on more so. So like a league where you have 2 teams, that's not going to get a situation. So what you do is you run it's going to be broken into 2 parts. You're going to have the online version and you're going to have the live version. Okay. So what happens is each league gets its own event. So let's say the Scottish Premier League gets a final. Each week for the season in the Scottish Premier League. So like, how many game weeks are in the Scottish Premier League? 36, Quinny?
38.
How many?
38.
58?
38.
38.
Oh God, your accent kills me sometimes. I can't hear it. I just
Sorry.
No,
I can't wait for Quinny to win a trip to Glasgow.
Yeah, hey, maybe that's where our finals at. Okay, so what we do is we have the qualifiers run the first 30 weeks of the Scottish season. If you win the limited contest, the rare contest, the super rare contest, or the unique contest, you win an entry into the online final of the Scottish Premier League season, or basically stage 2. We'll call it stage 2. So let's say, so that means there are 30 limited, rare, super rare, and unique members that have entered this contest to move on to the next stage. You can use podiums. Like if you use podiums, obviously it bloats the number. So it's just a matter of like, do you want to bloat the number? Do you want to keep the number more manageable? And then from there, stage 2 of this is, so now you have 30 managers at each level that have advanced to the final. You play that final out, and there is a prize pool allotted to the entirety of this competition. Let's call it $100,000. So there's a $100,000 Scottish Premier League final that is held at the end of the season. If you want to reduce the numbers, you can run a couple contests that like eliminate a portion of the field at each level, or you can just run it as a full. So let's just pretend we're running it as a full thing. So we have a $100,000 final at the end of the Scottish Premier League season, and the winner at each level. So let's say there's a 30-man limited line contest, a 30-man rare, 30-man super rare, 30-man unique level. The winner of each final gets a ticket to the live final. This is the one I don't know where the live final, what it would be, where you would use it for. But the live final is an event in insert sexy European city. You basically give each person who qualifies $1,000 for travel expenses and 2 nights in a hotel. And they can bring a guest, so it's them and a guest. So you have 4 people that would have effectively advanced to this. The final for the Scottish Premier League, you have to use common cards for the final, but up to get to the final, you actually have to buy cards and play cards because it needs to be a fair fight at the final. You can't just have people that have a bloated gallery being able to abuse guys that don't have a bloated gallery, and you need to have everybody on the same level in this contest. Laird,
That's what Sorare is all about, man. Bloated galleries blasting all of us.
Chill. So the Scottish Premier League at the end gets 4 people that go to the live final. Those 4 people won the online final, got their money for the online final, now get to go to the live final. You do this for every league that has a full league coverage on Sorare. So you have an MLS version, you have a Scottish Premier League version, you have a J League, a K League. So effectively, like, you're going to end up with, like, I asked Laird, I think there's like 12 or 13 full leagues.
12.
So you have like 50 people in a live final. When that contest is and what games are covered, I'm not sure. It's a little bit more tricky, I think, than like, because the week where you run the final is the last week of the season where everybody plays at the same exact time, and you have a lock be at game time. So nobody eats DNPs and is miserable. And that's when you run the final. For the league. And then the overall final, I'm just not sure yet on the logistics in my brain of like when it would run. So effectively, like, you run like $100,000 final online for the leagues that are like covered by Sorare. Then like the Prem, Bundesliga, and La Liga, you can have as like a bigger prize pool. And instead of it being like, let's call 50 to 100,000, like the Bundesliga and Premier League and La Liga can be like $200,000 to $300,000, and then your live final ends up being like $500,000. So like, you make it work however within that it fits to make it a big final. So like the final is what everyone wants to be at. So you have a marketing team, you can do it in Paris. Like they literally live in Paris, and that's to a lot of people would be a very interesting. I would love to go to Paris. I've never been. That would be a very easy spot to do it because their team's already based there. You run the event, you rent out a hotel conference center. Like, I guarantee if you get 50 people for a final, you give them 50 hotel rooms, you probably get a conference rent out at a hotel most of the time anyways with that. And you have the final there where you watch games for 2 days, where you just hold the event and everybody gets to wine and dine and eat, drink, hang out, party, meet people. It's a great event to get to. So anyways, that was like my original brainstorm of like what you could do.
Love it. The only part I can come back on, but is the in-season part of it. And I get the whole you need that to fund it or whatever, but I think like the bird's eye view on this is classic, like value, classic prestige, classic, like, so see everyone that's in season at the moment. It's something I guess will be a topic for another day to some extent, but you need to give them as much reason as possible to hold what they have and not just, throw them into the abyss and go again next season. And sure, some people will do that. Sure, the market can kind of handle that for an extent, but you definitely need to, I think Collections and XP does this a tiny bit, but you need to give some sort of incentive to longer play. Like if I'm going to be playing Sorare, and like this is my 5th season playing it, same as you guys, I think, we're all around the same kind of time. And you don't really have that reason to hold on a bit longer or plan a little bit further ahead. So that's why I kind of wanted this to be definitely a classic focused thing, because it feels like in season gets a lot number 1 and number 2. I think it probably helps to keep the wolf from the doors, as it were, when it comes to classic just being totally redundant or obsolete.
Look, I'm all for it. If that, and I think that does help the secondary market, it helps stuff go. The issue is I don't think Sorare is ever going to buy into something like that. But I agree with you from that perspective, which is why I'm saying, like, don't make it this, like, when they make all these contests, like, you got to have 4 in-season cards. You know what I'm like? I'm like, cool, I'm not going to play it. Awesome. If you make it like 2 or 3, I'm like, all right, well, now I need 1 card and it would make it work and I can make it happen. So maybe there's a way that you have like a requirement, but the requirement is 1 or 2 in-season cards. Like maybe it's a lower requirement threshold. I'd be fine with it obviously being classic. I mean, I don't mind that at all. And that does help like long-term keep the value up, because maybe that's something that just like forever going forward, people are like, hey, if this is being ran every year, my cards keep the usage. So like they're going to be worth more longer term, and the prices don't sort of fall off cliffs and stuff as the seasons progress. So I'm obviously not opposed to it being a classic competition. I think Sorare would from their perspective, but I would have no problems with it.
I think Sorare would want us to buy 10 in-season cards for one SO5
Yes.
lineup to qualify. So,
Yes.
So Sean, do you look at it as a necessity to have like a separate competition that you enter in order to win prize like tickets instead of just like we play our normal game, but we have it like, but if you podium, you get a ticket?
I think for me, it would make more sense if it's a separate contest because it gives people another contest to play while diluting cards into separate contests. And the best part about that contest, you're not giving shit away most of the year. Like you're literally giving away one ticket a week. And but people, if people are looking at it, they're like, hey, I want to qualify for that shit. That's going to be a lot of fun. I want to have my hat in the ring. They're going to devote some cards to it. So I think I would probably have it as a separate contest, but I don't think it's out of the question. You could loop it in with other contests. The issue is, and one thing that has to come out of it is you can't have the contest be super bloated. You can't have like 800 people in it because the part of the appeal to it is it being a prestigious event, and the less people you have means the harder it is for someone to attain entry to it. So like now whether like you can, so some of these events like the college football final that I talked about, it starts as 100 people, it gets cut down to 40 and then gets cut down again to 12, and the actual live final will be 12 people, not 100. So like there are ways for you to cut down the entries as you go, because and obviously like, if you're having a live event, like you can't have 800 people for cost reasons and just logistics. Like that's not realistic. Like the amount of people you have has to be a realistic number.
So I think what you proposed is one of the most unrealistic ideas I've ever heard in terms of like sort of like I really struggle to see them putting that together. Not to say it's a bad idea because I love the idea, but I feel like we're so far away from that like
we shouldn't be though. That's the problem. Like this is a company that got valued at like $4 billion.
It's
like,
not there, but yeah. But I mean,
yeah, but like they should be able to put on an event for 50 people.
That I'm not. Yeah. That I'm not disputing. It's more everything that goes into it that, like the qualify, like everything that you described didn't sound easy, and maybe I just liked Quinny's idea because it was easy. Win a competition. You have a ticket.
You can make it more simple. You could just keep it like, hey, I mean, again, Quinny, earmuffs on this one, but like give a ticket to the winner of in-season competition each week you run it in these leagues. And then boom, there you go. There's your ease of entry that you wanted.
Wheels it done.
Of course. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Of course, it'll be a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet Zidane. Of course, Frank.
We can't do anything like this without.
Yeah, of course. Zidane's a prerequisite. He's going to be on the poster for all this shit.
Did you see that Office meme? I think it was No Context. Sorry, they done it after the Zidane thing. It was like, go get Zidane.
Raul said and Mbappe. Yes, Ethan Mbappe will also be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. So maybe we take a step back slightly. Does Quinny's idea of get a ticket if you podium, and at sometime at the later there is a big contest, and even if it is 1,000 people, is that enough of like a new thing to like for people to strive for?
It could be. It definitely could be. I think it depends how much you put into it, like how much the prize pool is. Like, I think it's hard logistically to like run something like that because the issue is like you have to do it when everything overlaps. But even when everything overlaps, like sometimes teams don't play, especially in the second half of the season where like European teams will just cancel games because they have European competitions. So like all of a sudden you set it for like, let's say April 15th. And then all of a sudden Madrid's like, hey, we're still in Champions League. We're not playing this weekend. Or like, we're in the Copa del Rey finals. Like, we're not playing this weekend. And then it's like, well, that's kind of shit. Cause like, that's what I used to get here. And now like, they just don't even play. So like, I that is the only thing that for me is a logistical issue is is how would you overlap it for everything to be equal for everyone? Or like you're gonna challenger like net right now, and then it's like, oh, MLS is like done, and you can't play any of those guys. So it makes a logistical issue, I think.
Yeah, the one thing that I kept kind of coming back to is, so DraftKings does this thing called King of the Pitch, which you qualify for. It's the same idea. It's an online final, and they used to do it on the final day of the Premier League, and they moved it because, I mean, the idea was great because it was like you have every game starting at the same time and everybody can sweat it. But there were always a lot of the games don't matter. And so there was only like a few teams that really cared. And so the lineups were all weird. And so I think they definitely moved it. I don't know when it is now. It's seemingly just a random Saturday. And
which does make sense because it used to be terrible.
It was awful. Yeah,
you'd be sitting there and you'd be playing the live final, and like City would have the league locked up, and you're sitting there running like McAtee out there, and it's like, great, this is
right. So obviously the timing is very hard, and I mean it does feel like the middle end of spring is like when everything is going on. I'm trying to think of like challenger and contender and all that. Like champion is easy schedule wise because they're all pretty much the same. But my only thought was, instead of doing like a single, like maybe we do the month of April and it's like your best score over that time. Like I think there are a lot of ways that you could do it. But it is, I guess the interesting thing is like, does this become part of our game that we like keep playing, but this is like something else you can win? Or does this become like a new game, or at least a new competition where it's like you specifically have to target this? And Quinny, your idea was initially just like it's now part of the game, podium, and you get a ticket. Does Sean's description or any of this conversation like make you feel like it should be a separate competition each game week?
I definitely think Sean's definitely educated me on this one. Definitely, with experiences of other people doing this stuff, there's a lot more you could do. Like if you did do qualifiers, then you could do some sort of soft in-season requirement, makes all that a bit easier, rather than like my idea of just putting it into classic and then just any podiums you get is where the ticket's at. But I think like it should be something that's exciting and something that if you get your ticket, you're hyped for. Like, yes, I'm in it. But I don't think it would be something that would dominate your thoughts, dominate your strategy, make without the exception of like you need one card this weekend to maybe be with a shot at grabbing a ticket. Probably wouldn't be something you would structure your lineups around overlay or your gallery until we get maybe closer to the time when they're announcing what the prize pool will be. Then maybe people go, oh, do you know what? I might actually just throw all my eggs in one basket this week and just go for D4, try and get onto the top 3 or do something like that. I think if it did become like another Rivals type thing or another Essence type thing where it was like a fundamental part of like the overall makeup, like it's maybe a wee bit too much. It's a wee bit just we overkill is maybe what it would be at that point, But again, I didn't really give much thought to some of the scope it could have, like Sean's ideas of qualifiers, league specific stuff perhaps as well. So it depends on what angle we kind of run down with it.
There are plenty of roads you can go down. What the two questions that Pranksy had before, which I think are somewhat related. One was basically what happens if they win all 30 weeks of the qualifiers. But the other one was like, would the tickets be tradable? Which is kind of a cool idea because that's definitely not the case for like the daily fantasy sites.
Well, the daily fantasy sites have like a max amount of seats that you can have.
Right. And so like, but like, do you need to have a max? Like if Pranksy had 30 entries into this competition, like they're going to need 30 lineups to like try to win, or you trade them out.
I mean, the only level that would be relevant now would be like the unique level if you're playing. Because like Pranksy, if anybody had every card on the platform at Rare, like you're knocking a podium at more than a couple times a season.
That's fair.
Like it's just not realistic. Like super rare and unique, it gets a little bit more tricky on that. But yeah, there's lots of iterations and lots of ways you could go about it. The key to it is it has to be a big spectacle. If it's not, then it's just not interesting enough, right? Like it's got to be some sort of big event, big spectacle in some way or another. And that's the key to it. And then from there, you have to figure out the logistics, which there are lots of logistics that would have to go into figuring something like it out.
Can it be exciting enough without a live final?
If the prize pool is big enough.
Yeah, that's all it is.
If the live final, right, is a lot about the event and being at the event. If it's not at the event and it's an online thing, it needs to have a huge prize pool, because otherwise people are just like, okay, oh, it's another tournament where you're giving away $75,000 instead of $25,000. Okay, like it's just not that interesting. So it'd have to be a big event. And then could you imagine like a live final where Quinny has a Celtic stack and they go off and he's sitting there with the championship belt going nuts, and like all the marketing you can put into that, and then like how hyped he'd get. Whereas like if it's like an online event, he's just like sitting in his office by himself and he wins.
Yeah.
And nobody's there to sit there and record Quinny going nuts after like sitting there. Celtic wins. He's throwing some Guinness around, like he's like shotgunning some beers, going nuts. And you get to like record that, put that on posters, put that in videos. And
Zidane walks through his front door.
Zidane walks through. Yeah, like he's sitting there shotgunning beers with Zidane. Like, I mean, you could write that up instead of like he's sitting in his office in his underwear, like. True story.
You ever heard the phrase "true Scotsman"?
Oh
no,
I have an idea. Now that I think about it.
True story. I've been in one of their marketing videos for the DraftKings live final. Totally, like I am just sitting. I was just sitting there, like watching an NFL game on a Saturday, and with a couple of my buddies, and I just come across the screen, sitting on a couch, looking like a fat tub of shit, just sitting there on I'm like at the live final on my computer, like, woo! I look so stupid, but they're like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah. I will say the videos of live finals can be very.
There's some good ones
exposing to the people who play high stakes.
So Quinny will get a kick out of this. So they used to do live finals at the Playboy Mansion back in the day. Cool. So I was at the Playboy Mansion for a college football live final, and they like have a bunch of girls there. Like so what they do is
that's what they do there, Sean.
Yeah, so for big events, they have like their A team, and for like lesser events, they don't have their A team, and they just have like girls that they're like, it's like tryouts, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. So anyways, we're sitting there, and the bartender, my two buddies are sitting there because I took them, and they're at the bar, and the bartender is like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. This is the first event where like 95% of dudes are literally just sitting on a couch watching football, and nobody's talking to any of the girls here. Like the girls are just sitting there. He's like, literally nobody. He points to this table. He's like, those 10 girls at that table, not a single dude has talked to them in 4 hours because everybody's just watching sports. I'm like, yep, checks out.
That's a fun one.
Deanne said tryouts for future sleazy girls. Literally, that's kind of what it was.
Charlie said, personally, I don't get it. A team like Celtic win by 2 or 3 most weeks without fail. They'll just go back to everyone running Cecinias again. So we're changed to stop that. I feel like it's like a celebration to what Sorare was while playing the new Sorare to get there. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter.
I did also think on this when I was putting my wee post together. It would be single entry in case anyone, like, any power user just goes and hoovers up a bunch of tickets, because, like, yeah, single entry. And it was kind of in the vein of Sean's comment around the commons type thing. It was that kind of idea of it. Everyone gets one shot. It's not like because you've scooped up 4, you've got 4 teams, and because I squeaked 1, I've only got 1, and you just get nice cover in that regard. So I would think single entry for this, unless it was like unless it was a qualifier thing, then maybe just you get in and then you've got multi-entry and it's all-star or something like that. I don't know, but I think that moves a wee bit too far away into just being another competition again, kind of, rather than. So I think an important part of it is sentiment, is like the cards, the football, the collections, the managers, everyone that's been here for the last however many years. It's more for, as much as people want to win money, cards and cash and boxes and all the rest of it, but It's more for that kind of thing of the game moves on, the game takes on its next kind of big step, as it were. It's something that's like it's championship and it's defined by these regions. For some reason, they've got wrong, putting Scotland obviously in contender, but these regions that they spent a lot of time on to divide the whole leaderboard into. But there's one competition where it all does come back together and it's for the biggest stuff guaranteed. You know, it's a big, shaky prize pool.
It was obviously a solution to making podiums actually be worth something now, because they're, for the most part, the Division 1 podiums mean something, and after that,
in this situation, you're not giving shit to anything but D1. If you're keeping divisions, you're not getting entry without it being a D1 entry. Like, that gives you incentive to actually want to be in D1.
I guess you could also because in addition to having contests that are that get you a qualifying ticket for these live finals, they also do satellites where you can win tickets to qualifiers. So theoretically, you could have contests if you win Division 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, next week you get to you are in almost like a special competition where the winner of that gets a ticket.
Well, you could if you were keeping it as a separate contest, right? You could run like everybody in D1 is entered, and then if you finish in like the top 10% of D2, 5% of D3, like whatever, like you also are entered the following week or something. You could do something like that. But like, yeah, to me, I mean, it should only be for people in D1 if you're keeping divisions for that. Or you could just, like, again, if you just have it as a separate competition, like it's just everybody is allowed to enter it.
I want to go back to the whole common cards for the final. And you did it obviously because like you want everybody to be on a level playing field. How do you deal with duplicate lineups in those situations?
Well, that's kind of where the issue. Well, I mean, in theory, it's a duplicates would just split whatever the prize pool is, but that's why it's like a logistical thing of like, what would you include in the tournament? Like, if you maybe just do it over a weekend where like all games Saturday, Sunday are part of it, and you can late swap and set your lineups as the lineups come out. But because like in that situation, like you're just not gonna have that many duplicates if it's like everybody can play the same lineup. Like almost nobody's gonna have the exact same lineup. Like I would imagine, like if you had 100 people, like no one's gonna have the same lineup in that situation. There's too many games and too many different.
Right. If you had every game available.
Yeah. If you have every game available, like people aren't gonna do it. Like it becomes a little bit more tricky, obviously, if you do like the finals during the last week of the Prem season and like Man City's a 5-goal favorite against like Luton Town. It's like, all right, well, shit. Then it's a little bit more tricky. So like I think it would depend on what you do, but again, that goes into the logistics of when would you have it, and the answer to that is I don't know yet. Maybe you do it during one of the big summer tournaments, and you do it like, but the issue is like I guess it's kind of too many days spread out. But maybe you do it like during the World Cup group stage or something. I don't know, or like the World Cup like round of 8. Something like that. But then again, like it's over too many days, it probably doesn't work that well. But so the logistics of it, I would have to think about further and try to figure out what would make the most sense. But I'm sure if you put enough thought into it, you could figure it out.
Quinny, do you think this is the best way to determine who the best player on Sorare is?
Oh, it would definitely be up there, I think, you know, especially if there is some sort of common angle when it is the final round or whatever. Yeah, I definitely think so, because I think like we can all like have a week go our way where we win a division, we nail a strategy, we've got the captain on point, the goalkeeper didn't screw us over. But that is, yeah, it's definitely something on Sorare that is intangible, that no one's totally nailed down, like who is like, or how do you define like a good player? Because everyone plays the game so totally differently. Everyone's like success objectives are all totally different as well. Whereas this, it would definitely show a wee bit of head to head in that regard, I think. Yeah, so I think it wouldn't be definitive, obviously, but I definitely think it would go a long way to showing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to something that, Sean, you touched on a little bit when we talked about divisions, that the lack of like a real global leaderboard makes it hard for anybody to really realize like where they stand against everyone else, other than like, oh, I happen to win this week and like that's it. Do we like, how important is a global leaderboard for something like Sorare?
I mean, it helps. Like to me, like to your question of like, would it help show who the best manager is? No, not at all. But no one can take away that you're like the world champion, right? If you win the world championship, you are the world champion. Doesn't mean you're the best. It means like on that day you were the best, which is definitely something to hang your hat on in that situation. So I don't know. Like a global leaderboard matters, but like Quinny touched on it, and I think he's spot on. Like everybody plays the game so differently, and there's no right or wrong way to play the game. So it means that there's no definitive like, oh, this is the right way to play, I'm number one in the world. It's just like everybody does stuff so differently that you can't really quantify who is the best and who is not the best.
I do my stuff the most different. I do my stuff differently the best.
It's just so different. Like everyone does different things and has different focuses and different things they enjoy. Like literally, like just us, like, right? I like the MLS a lot, and I like I guess all of us like All-Star, but like I like the MLS a lot. I like Belgium. I used to really enjoy the Dutch league, like all that stuff. Quinny wants Celtic. Laird wants Midland. Like there's different people that have different attractions within Sorare that like want to do different things.
Does it help the case towards it? Like if we just did, I guess, like regional ones, like who are the best contender, like having competitions, a contender competition almost, and a challenger competition, a champion one, or is it?
I think that's too dimensional. Because I think then it's just a bigger version of the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas I think you want to see the best contender, the best challenger, the best champion lineups. And like Sean's point's quite accurate as well, because depending on where you are in the season, like if it is legitimately like over the last 3 games, some teams are be done and dusted, won't really care too much, So you definitely need it over the final portions of the season, but there's definitely a fine balancing act with how to do it. But I think you still want that cross play. I think you still want different teams and regions bumping off each other, but you can't allow it to become an all-star situation where if you've got someone like, I've only got champion supers, for example. So imagine I won one in champion, and then I get in there and I think, oh, do you know what? To boost my chances, I'll just go and buy some contender supers, and then I'll have a better shot all of a sudden, because that's it's not really in the spirit of it, and there's only so much you can do to protect spirit and integrity and these kind of things. And I think if they could somehow keep it where if you come from this region, then you need to represent that region with your selections, and you don't just go and cheat and go all of a sudden, I'll just go buy a Kimmich and throw him in with the Celtic team, or something like that.
Maybe you do the competition as like a global all-star competition where like it goes back to global all-star and like that's how you get there. But like in that situation, like more people, like if you have Celtic stats, you're going to have more qualifications from that like sub-region than you will from others, because like they're going to pop off more. So like maybe you do it as a global competition, and you open up a new competition that is like world championship, and each week there's a level, or there's an entry at each level, and at the end of the year you have X amount of people that have entered or that have won tickets.
I think we just rebranded All-Star. That's all.
Yeah, but hey,
I'm not sure it's any different than.
Well, All-Star doesn't exist some of the time. I still think All-Star should just like permanently exist, but that's a whole nother conversation.
It just about does for midweeks these days. I think
it does, which is good. I don't know. You just should have just never got like it's still like relevant on the weekends. Like it's still like you said. I think all 3 of us, the most enjoyment we've had on the platform is all-star competitions. Like, right? Like Laird, I know that's for me, and Quinny said it's him. You're the same way, right?
I mean, all of us, All-Star Rare Pro was like exact where we went.
Yeah.
First.
Like it's just so much more interesting for me to be able to mix guys from different leagues and do different combinations than, oh, great, I'm going to run my Tottenham stack for the 30th straight week in a row. This is exhilarating. Like, it gets boring to me.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are enough people who do not play Sorare right now that would see an all-star competition and think, yeah, I'd rather play that?
No, probably not. But again, like that goes to the whole thing. Like, are you just going to make it a Prem competition then? Because we have enough of that.
Yeah, maybe they do.
I mean, hey, maybe they do. Maybe they just run it as a Prem.
Like, I don't think like a Prem I don't want to call it a Premier League World Championship, but like, I think it's some sort of format like that would attract people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem they've always had with this is that I think every football fan that would play a game like this would always want the global aspect available. But I think the worry is, or the experience has been, it's became more of a problem for people where it's like, oh shit, I don't know any of these guys in Japan. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to go and figure out a cheap defender from there. I just want to stick to the Tottenham stack, and maybe I'll buy a guy from Real Madrid. You know, like so there's always been this balancing act with the whole global aspect where it is a great USP, but it can also be a kind of burden, you know, in a way, because people then think, oh Jesus, everyone goes to Japan and Korea right away, you know, in terms of the negative angles of it. And if you were to pick the game up and trying to, they're the first players you would see and go, what? Who? You know, why? You know, and so there's still, I think, a fine line to walk with that, you know, where you definitely want to enhance the better league, the top 5 leagues in the world and their appeal. But I definitely feel that anyone that would see the game and then realize, like, oh, I can play a few Ajax guys, or I can play that guy that's on loan from Chelsea to Strasbourg, or, you know, whatever, depending on who you support and all the rest of it. So I think it would attract more than it would put people away. But I think there's been a fine balance. It's been hard to strike for that.
Yeah, I don't think Sorare want to go back to the days where people want to buy Cecina over Rafinha, just to rhyme it a little bit.
Yeah, so they just made it like nobody wants to buy Cecina at all.
What's that?
I said, so they just made it so nobody wants to buy
Cecina.
Right.
I do think one of the best parts of this game is when players transfer. And I know short term, that's normally a lot of pain. But like I kind of said earlier, with the incentive of your in-season cards being retained and then you still having value in them and still wanting to go again next year with them as classics, is that I've kind of forgot what I was going to start going on to with that. Sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought. But oh crap, what was I going to say with that? I'll come back to you in a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to touch on one other thing, because this actually isn't really a long format competition. Oh, you've got it, Quinny?
Yeah. No, I've not. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so McBride was saying that like some sort of longer formats would help Classic, and I'm not sure I've ever enjoyed a long format on Sorare. All the monthly ones, like, were just when they did that month-long, I don't know, was it a cap mode, or I don't remember what it was, but then, and they gave prizes each week and then more at the end. And we were like, oh, that's great. And they were like, whoops, that was way too many rewards. And then we had to wait for the whole month. And I feel like people didn't really prioritize it anymore, because it was like, nobody wants to wait that long for the prizes. So I'm just not sure how much a long format competition works on Sorare. Like, isn't it a huge benefit that you get stuff every game week?
I know from speaking to them that the monthly stuff, people didn't engage with it, like you say. Like, it definitely did drop off and stuff like that. So I don't think they're going to revive that one. What I was saying, sorry, I've remembered this, I'll finish it and move past it quickly. But short term, like when players transfer, it can be quite sore, but it can be really good as well. And ultimately, like, I think if you're playing like FPL, for example, and someone leaves in the January window, you're normally kind of gutted. You've lost him out your team. But, you know, it's a thing like that angle of you can still play with everyone. There's no kind of, with the exception of like Saudi and whatever, there's no like forbidden territory. There's no like, you know, where the guy just comes off the platform, becomes useless from the game, sort of thing. So that's what I was going to finish on a second ago. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like the global part of it is in like Sorare's DNA, and so I don't feel like they can really escape it. But man, they really want to hide it.
Want to hide what?
Just the global aspect of the game.
Oh yeah, which is unfortunate, because that's what drew me in.
Sure,
that's like what drew me in. That's what was interesting to me. So I mean, it's very unfortunate that that's the path they've gone down. It's unfortunate. Yeah, long-term stuff. I mean, I like the month-long competition, because it was basically like, hey, Sean, here is a contest. that you have a bigger edge on than you normally would. It's like, okay, cool. That's great. So that's not how it is for most people. But no, I mean, I think there's something long term. Like Quinny said, the engagement on that one where they didn't give shit out, where it's like, all right, you win the game week, you get nothing at all, and then you're not gonna do well.
Right. Like you could win a game week, that get to the end of the month and win nothing.
Yeah, that was terrible. I remember, do you guys? There was the one Discord that we were in. People like, I'm gonna prioritize this. I'm like, anybody prioritizing this is dumb as shit, because you literally can win the game week and win nothing for it at all, which is like the worst thing I think you could do on Sorare, is literally like smash your brains out and win absolute. Like we're talking like literal less than 1 essence. Like that's how low it was. And then the one where obviously you gave out prizes and then you gave out month-long prizes, that also didn't work because you're just giving out way too much shit for people doing well. But yeah, I don't know. I like the long-term stuff, or at least I like the thought of the long-term stuff. The execution, I don't really know how it works. Obviously, what they've done before didn't work, and like what Quinny said is the engagement was like that month-long competition where they gave nothing out. I was like, all right, I literally don't give a shit about this at all. Like I've said that like 80th in my line at prioritization a week. Like I don't care at all. And then I would still win. Like I still won like a tier 2 or tier 3 from it because like I have a shitload of cards. But it was just not. It was so dull. It was like the most boring thing of all time.
Yeah, it's just a tough sell. Like longer. We're just really used to at least having the opportunity to win something every game week.
Yeah,
and pushing it out to a full month, I just don't think people are going to want to do it.
Yeah. McBride just said, how do you fix Classic then? With Classic, I think there's just a balancing act. There's a balancing act with the amount of money that goes to the in-season versus Classic. I think you could shift a little bit of it to Classic to offset it, and that's how you do it.
I definitely think there's going to be a wee bit of a redress and a rebalance with a lot of this stuff, because like there's been not so much focus, of course, on in-season, and I think we've all kind of spoke about that to the cows come home. But I think that they, in particularly, like Sorare, like I think they've been, I don't want to say happy, let's just say content to totally just kick the Classic thing down the road. Just manana, we'll deal with that tomorrow. But tomorrow is going to be the end of this season, because like I've kind of alluded to once or twice already, like they need to give people a real reason to keep their cards from this season, because if the meta in-season strategy is play, win as much as you can, sell with a game or two to go, keep your wallet, go again. You know, that's what most logical people would be thinking. Maybe I'll keep the goalkeeper, maybe I'll keep the captain, because you can play one Classic and then kind of roll from there. And a big part of this game, like Sean was talking about, also All-Star being a big attraction for him. Again, for me, a big part of the game is like, and it's not stopped me. It's I've not changed my patterns at all or anything like that. But a big part of the game for me is like owning the cards forever, you know, and taking them through their career for better or for worse in a lot of cases. And there's very little reason on offer to do that at the moment. And I think if you've got an in-season collection, you finish the year with your guys averaging between level 10 to 15, you've got 3 to 5% collection bonus. If you knew next season that collection will be really handy to get me a Classic podium, to then, that's something you can think about rather than just, I'm going into the hardcore Royal Rumble at the next season in the Classic mode where no holds barred and everyone's at 15% out their face after long enough, and I'm in Division 3 to try and win a Tier 4 and 4 Essence or whatever, you know. So I think that's something that should be factored into all this as well. They need to get a Classic thing on the go, like the second half of this season, to incentivize retention on the in-season cards that are already there. One of the positives people are throwing around the market now is that Sorare have sold a lot of their primary market allocation. And the reason a lot of people think this is a positive, of course, is because then the secondary market, or the secondary market becomes the market for a large thing. And that's only like a really good positive if everyone's not dumping, you know. If Sorare aren't selling any cards and it's 5 games to go towards the end of the season, and the meta is, and everyone's best ROI potential is, you know, get out now while your guy's 40 quid before he's 15 quid or whatever, then that doesn't really pan out the way people want it to.
I think the biggest thing, and I've mentioned this before, and Mike in chat said the same thing. Like, I'm just not sure there are going to be enough buyers for all of these soon-to-be classic cards.
Yeah.
And like, it's going to push prices down, and they probably should go lower, but they won't because we're going to run out of buyers soon. So I almost feel like Sorare have this, from their point of view, almost like a safety net of we can't crash the market because nobody's buying, which is really bad. Like, I don't want to say this is like a good thing, but like at some point, like the bots are not going to take 75 classic or like soon to be classic whoever's. Like Cole Palmer is like a very, very good card. And if people want to get out of those cards, like at some point, there's just not enough buyers. And then we're just kind of all stuck with our cards again.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say something that's going to piss people off, but I also think it's the truth. So McBride has said in season is good, classic is pretty bad. That's the issue currently. I don't think they give a shit about classic anymore. They just don't care. Like, let's be honest. Like, they don't care that much about classic. Once they get the money in at the start of the Premier League season, they don't give a shit. Like, that's gone. I'm not saying they like want you to just eat shit, but like, I think Sorare has changed the game to where in season is all that really matters to them now, and that like everything after that is just like getting remnants, which pisses off the current user base. But they've already milked the current user base for all their worth, so they don't care that much. They care about the new people coming in or the people that are still willing to spend. It's in season's very favorable right now, and it's like, I mean, I think Haber tweeted yesterday, and I saw it, like in 2.5 months, and he didn't even do it till like a month into that 2.5 months, he's paid off his investment for this season in terms of like his in-season rares in the Prem. Well, he's got another 6 months to go and pay that off. What I will say is also back to what Quinny was talking about. There was a very obvious way they should have done this, and they just didn't. I don't know the reason they didn't do it. They should have done an escalator in terms of like how they were giving away the prizes for the in-season competition. Like, first quarter of the season should have been like 15% of the prize pool for the year. Second quarter should have been like 25% of the prize pool. Third portion should have been like 30%. Fourth portion should have been like 35, whatever, to make it 100, obviously. But like, it should have been a escalator of at the end of the season, that's when you will win the biggest prizes, to incentivize people to still want those in-season cards, instead of like, oh, I got 4 game weeks left, let me dump them for what I can now, while they still have some in-season with them.
I understand what you're saying, but I think it's missing the fact that most people want to play fantasy football when seasons start. That they're not going to end up holding their cards all season just waiting for the big prize pools in April and May. Like, I actually think Sorare make less money that way. Like, there's not enough people who want to buy late in the season, regardless of the rewards. Like, people they don't want to play fantasy football anymore. It's the same reason we see, oh, FPL has 12 million people. And it's like, yeah, there are 3 million who are still active in the first week of September. And it's half of that in October. You know, it's like,
well,
that's
that
why
game is also horrendous. And like, you're just dead immediately when the season starts. Like, 4 weeks in, you're probably dead. Like, 90% of people are just so far behind, they're just dead.
But people feel like that about Sorare. So that's why you got to start right away. Like, you sell into the season hype. That's always going to be when people.
Sorare should do that, but I'm saying like you're still going to get the in-season hype if you're still giving away reasonable prizes at the beginning of the season. RJ said Haber case, an extreme example of positive variance. It's not. Quite a few people have returned their in-season investments, I would say, that came in and are flat out, I am buying in-season cards for these competitions for this year. They have done pretty well. Like, I know quite a few people who have done that. So it's not just like a outlier case of extreme positive variance. Like, it's a case of the in-season prize pools are pretty good, and the prices were probably below what they should be for what the prizes are. And people have taken advantage of. The issue is that people that have been burned by their values going down so much did not want to invest more, and that's what happened. Which I can't blame those people either. Like, you've likely taken a bath in terms of price points. You're not looking to just go and invest a bunch more.
I would assume that everyone who wins Division 1 in season pays back a vast majority of the cost of their cards.
Oh, it's hard not to right now. Like, it's hard not to.
Probably the hardest ones are day one SPFL stacks, because they were the craziest prices of all the in-season cards.
They were crazy.
You know,
You're right about
which I didn't buy any of them. But yeah, so I was just thinking about the prices and everything that you were saying there, and obviously in-season card prices are generally just coming down, just because logically the writing was on the wall for that. But yeah, for the most part, I'm with Sean. Most people I've heard that say, "Oh, I went after in-season this year," they've got some sort of I'm halfway to clipping it already, or I've already got it to wash its face, or you know, I don't really see anyone saying I went after in season and I'm dead in the water, you know, like completely.
Yeah. Except for everybody who was like, I'm going to play champ with Courtois and Rodri, and I think the unfortunate negative that I keep coming back to is basically the first 5 years of Sorare were wrong. That like, had they started the game like now, like had the game started with what we play now, and we were like, oh yeah, and the classic comps are where you win your new season cards, we'd be like, oh yeah, like yeah, it's a free for all, like it's whatever. And it's almost like they want us to ignore the 5 years that we bought all these cards and everything, and it's like there are not enough people coming into the game and older users leaving that we're going to forget, and so like they have to come up with something better than this.
Yeah. I heard it on someone's stream or in someone's live chat. I forget where this came to me, but see if you look on your own gallery and try and find a player that you've had over a year, it hides how much you paid for it. Like on your
on your
dash, like anyone recently, it'll show you like the wee auction hammer or the wee shopping cart and the money next to it. But anyone over a year, it just says bought a year ago or 2 years ago or something. Yeah. Which they're definitely trying to. And I noticed they did something with the SO5 scores as well. Like they kind of archived like a bunch. See when you're on like a player page and you can just scroll back and see all the bar charts. They only go back so far. They don't go that far back anymore. Even for players that have, you know, Belgian league and stuff like that, you should be able to go back into, you know, the annals of time with some of those guys. Everyone's stats do kind of stop shorter now, which it does feel like they're trying to kind of archive some bits and pieces of yesteryear. It's season 1 McBride. Yeah, fair enough.
Hans goes back. Vanaken goes back to game week 338, and that's it. Oh well. Yeah, I just want something on my old card, you know, an old super rare that says like acquired for a small SUV instead of. Anyway, Brad said, where does this delusion come from that most people are winning their money back playing in season? By design, they are not. You really think they're paying out as much as they're taking in? I don't think everybody.
I'm not saying most, and I'm not saying they've totally, you know, paid themselves back or whatever, but I've not seen anyone say I've bought all in-season cards, I've won nothing, and my cards are all dead as a duck, and I've just not seen that. But yeah, I see people saying that about Classic. I see people saying that about all sorts of things, but certainly not in-season. That's all. Not seen everyone.
Yeah, not everyone.
Plenty of Real Madrid collectors out there who are definitely still under.
There's definitely people under, but I would say a lot of people that did things intelligently have done pretty well in season.
It's also been 3 months.
Yeah. You have another 6
over in May.
Yeah.
Like we're
11 games in.
We are going to hear about the people who have been successful. Nobody's going out there being like, I haven't won a thing.
That would just be my favorite thing when people would like be like, oh, no one's sitting there posting their dog shit rewards they won on Twitter. It's like, yeah, no shit. No one's sitting there posting their shit. Like, yeah, someone's excited they won this card in essence, and they're posting it. Like, yeah, I have like 25 guys in the last month I've crafted that are steaming piles of shit. I'm not going on Twitter being like, look at this 18-year-old who's never played a minute professionally, baby. Let's go. Like, no one's doing that.
Big Jimmer vibes there.
Yeah.
What's the non-cash solution to Classic? Because I think that any discussion about cash is falling on deaf ears at Sorare. Or do we just say it's not our job and we'll just wait until they come up with something?
Yeah, it's kind of, if it's not cash, what is it? Really? You know, it's all this cool stuff is going into special weeklies or the common comps. Like Best of Europe is the kind of theme that they've got at the moment. And I think that's probably the best place for a lot of that stuff if it's not going to be redeemed through collections. So I don't even think you can really call upon that stuff to go into Classic, because it's probably better served there, where if you want to see Napoli versus AC Milan, there's a competition you can enter and you can go get the tickets for it, rather than just slapping it into champion 4th position and somebody wins it and doesn't care about it or doesn't redeem it. Raffle tickets from Sorare Malta. Raffle tickets for what?
I was gonna say, yeah, like for what?
Again, I did hear a really funny one from someone, and I mentioned this on a stream, I forget where, but I did hear someone, it might have been you, Laird, saying like they could just give away what FPL gives away every year. They could do that every weekend and just call it, like, you know, they could have a wee bit of the old Monday Night Wars with it, you know, and actually like go for them, like the non-FPL giveaway or something like that, you know, give away 40 pens, 2 t-shirts and a mug or whatever it is, just for the banter.
I will.
Merch.
I feel like I should clarify on that I actually looked up the prizes for FPL, and like the top prizes are huge. And the only reason why I knew that like I considered them huge is knowing how Sorare treat the, oh yeah, like here are your VIP tickets to the game, just get yourself to the game and accommodations. And literally the first overall prize for FPL is a 7-night in the UK with 2 hospitality. And it's like, oh, 7 nights of accommodations is already better than anything Sorare's given away.
Fair.
Yeah. But I agree. They should troll them a little bit. Why not?
Maybe. If they're allowed to, maybe they're not.
Maybe. Pranksy said I paid 3.3 ETH for Vardiol unique, and he's already returned 11 ETH, not on his own. Pranksy, I'm not sure anyone.
How about your Thibaut Courtois, Pranksy?
Yeah.
I saw him tweet about it yesterday. So I can give him shit for it. But yeah, I mean, some people are going to lose, like was said. Some people are going to lose. Some people are going to do well. That's kind of how it should be. It's much different than like everybody wins shitloads. Like that's not realistic. It's like the old NBA Top Shots shit that was like, oh man, everybody's lining up to buy packs. Well, yeah, you're literally basically giving everyone $200 for free. Of course, everyone's lining up for that shit. If you offer me $200 for free, Quinny and I are going to be standing outside waiting for it. You know what I mean? Like, duh. Like, who wouldn't? If you're not, like, you're too rich. Like, it's obvious. Like, I think stuff's a little bit more difficult. Hey, if they want to fly me to the Bahamas and put me up with accommodations and meet people, I am more than happy to oblige. I will happily sit there and shake some hands, kiss some babies, and say hello to people.
Outside or in the air conditioning?
Duh. Well, I'll sit in the. I'll just sit in the pool, and everyone can just like come up to me.
Okay.
And I'll be like lounging there with some drinks.
Maybe an umbrella for the shade. Just
yeah. Like, well, no, I wear like a cool bucket hat. Did I wear it in Miami? Did I have it in Miami? I'm
gonna remember the bucket.
Oh no, I bought one. Yeah, I bought one because I didn't.
Cool bucket hat.
What? Yeah, all bucket hats are cool, Quinny. Quinny, you would rock a bucket hat. You'd roll. Actually, you have too good a hair, so you don't have like a bunch of balls on your head. So like my head gets burnt, so like I need some coverage. And then
I do like a bucket hat, but I would never call one cool.
You probably have a photo of yourself wearing a bucket hat online somewhere.
Yeah, I probably do.
I think cool is a valid word.
Anyway, there was a comment. I've lost it. I forget what it was.
Sorare Malta said coconut bikini. If Sorare pays me enough, I'll wear a coconut bikini, no problem.
Mickey Price said, what about other revenue streams outside the box? Could you get a sponsor for the World Championship?
Laird and I disagree on this one, so I'll let him take that.
My opinion is that Sorare as a platform is not big enough to justify other companies spending money to sell whatever they have. And the difficulty is that because there are users all over the world, there are only a handful of companies that are big enough that would want the audience. So that's why,
like UK or Irish
sponsorships
beer?
are really hard.
What's like that UK or Irish beer that used to sponsor everything? Carlsberg, is that what it's called? Yeah, get Carlsberg to sponsor shit.
Like, I get that, but like, why would Carlsberg do it?
Because they used to sponsor all kinds of the international shit. Because I used to see at the World Cup and stuff. That was like the beer sponsor of the World Cup.
Right. Sponsoring the World Cup allows you to be in front of billions of people, not 30,000 internet nerds who like to drink.
Sorare's got a lot of people like to drink. Great target audience.
But I'm just saying there are not. Yeah. It's just not enough people.
Carlsberg is Danish. Did you know that, Laird?
No.
Yeah. Apparently, Carlsberg is Danish.
Does that make it more likely to pay us for sponsorship?
I mean, they pay. Hey, you never know. Get like Mr. Beast to sponsor Feastables or something. Like he can do it.
Yeah. No. It's just I think it's whatever I go back to that. It's just the Sorare platform's doesn't have enough new users to. Like, companies that big don't market to. Let's even call it 100,000 people. That's not enough people. That's all.
I can't find any bucket hat pictures.
I can't imagine.
Almost every other type of hat, but you might want to see me wearing, I've got a picture of, but no bucket.
I don't think I've ever gotten in a picture with a bucket hat. No. I have a picture of my son in a bucket hat, but he was 3.
Let me see if I can find a photo of me in a bucket hat. I'll send it to you. I'm obviously in a pool. I'm sure I have one.
So what are we looking for? Do you look cool in the hat, or is it a cool individual hat? What are we?
I mean, I definitely spent $40 on it because I was at an all-inclusive with the wife, and I didn't have one, and I spent like $40 on it.
Did it have a string on the bottom?
Duh. What bucket hat does?
Just in case it gets breezy.
Well, yeah, you got to make sure that it's got the little thing that you like move upwards and stuff too, so that it like stays on your head. Like, of course, Laird.
We're moving in the wrong direction from cool.
I don't think bucket hats in this country have the string as standard. That's definitely not standard bucket hat.
Well, this is a standard like being at an all-inclusive resort bucket hat because maybe like they think you're going to be really drunk and you need something to keep it on your head.
Or on the banana boat.
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly right. They did have banana boats while we were there. Wife was not interested in that, though. She was like, no. I was like, no.
Stick in the mud.
Well, also, she was like, do you want to go to the beach? And I'm like, there's 0% chance I'm touching the sand.
See, I like the beach, but I hate the sea or salt water. I can't do it.
I like pools.
I love them both.
Yeah, you remember when Laird showed the picture of him like sitting, like, oh, this is me at the beach, and it was just a bunch of rocks, and he's sitting on a bunch of rocks.
Shells.
Yeah, same thing. It looked terrible.
That was a terrible beach. I agree with you. They should get somebody to sponsor a tournament. Link from that tourney to the page to the sponsor stuff. Sponsor puts up the cash for the podium. Yeah, I mean, if you can find a company willing to put that money in.
I don't think it's that hard, to be honest with you. I think it's a networking thing. Like every company under the sun has marketing budgets and has, revenue has budgets for this stuff. And yeah, like fair enough. Like you've not got the traffic, the user numbers to go and get Gazprom sponsor it or whatever, but you could definitely find a couple of sponsors, maybe one or two that, because again, like if you think about it from a business perspective, like people advertising, everyone that plays Sorare is over the age of 18. I dare say the vast majority are over the age of 25. And I dare say everyone that plays Sorare has access to disposable income. I think that's quite evident at this point. That is a very good demographic to market to, no matter what you're selling.
Like I get that, but I don't think it's enough people, and we're too spread out.
Sure.
Like having a
rather than
like only available in the UK, like does nothing for me.
Yeah, but see for like Budweiser or Carlsberg or whatever, like say they're going to sponsor the Champions League or the league or whatever, that's hundreds, tens of millions of pounds, dollars, whatever. But sponsor something like this, like it doesn't even need to be that scale for it to be like for it to make a difference, like namely to Sorare and the competition and all the rest of it. Like that's everyone's motivation for encouraging this kind of chat. Obviously, if someone goes, "Oh, here's the Carlsberg Sorare Championship. Here's 500 grand. Here's $500,000 to go for it," or something. It's a lot of these bigger companies, as long as there's, I think it's a networking thing. Like really, like if you were in with a few of these marketing directors, like companies are worth billions, don't blink an eyelid at things like $500,000, $1 million for the right thing, you know. Obviously, I'm kind of demeaning some stuff here, you know, in terms of what's that word, Laird? You'll know it. Fiduciary. What's the thing I'm trying to say? Fiduciary responsibility.
I think.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got that stuff, but like I say, all these guys have got marketing budget out the hoo-ha anyway, you know. So I think it's a networking thing, really. If you want to get it, you'll find it.
So I'll equate this. I won't equate it as I was going to. I just don't think it's like that's almost not even worth their time. Like if you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing so you can sponsor the World Cup, it's not even worth your time giving Sorare $500,000 to have a tournament with the Budweiser name on it.
Maybe, but it depends who you are as well. Like it might not be Carlsberg, it might be like a tier 3 guy, you know, that
sure
hasn't got the budget to sponsor all this stuff or whatever. There's always somebody looking to advertise. There's always someone.
Big companies get so much write-offs, and like a lot of the companies legit have to spend X amount of money, and they like don't know where to spend it, and they'll just be like, "Sure, I need to get rid of X amount of money, and here you go."
Right, but they look for someone like that needs to be noticeable, though.
Yeah, but some of them are just like some of these companies get so much money that they literally don't know what the fuck to do with it, and if you like ask, like sometimes you can get it. I'm just saying, like I've been in that game before. Like we used to have to, when I worked in hockey, you had like there was a Erie Insurance was like the big thing, and they're like, yeah, we literally have such a huge budget that we literally don't know what to do with, and we just want to get rid of it, and they get rid of it. And then so like they named the arena the Erie Insurance Arena, and it's like, so I understand what you're saying is like, yes, a lot of big companies are not going to be interested in that, but also at the same time, like
I think the demographic is actually the harder part. That it's too many people who are too spread out. And
the global part is an issue,
right? Because you need
the demographic isn't an issue. The demographic is not an issue at all. Like you have like 20 to 40 year olds with 20 to 40 year old men with disposable income that have a very clear similar interest. Like that's a good demographic.
Losing money.
Yeah. That's a good demographic. Like
sure.
That's a demographic you can easily target, which is, it can be helpful, but
yeah, I just don't think there are enough of us yet. That's why we need Sorare to grow. Not for prices to go up, so we can get big enough for sponsors.
Well, also, like, I mean, I get this is a thing too. I think Quinny will agree with this because I haven't seen him do it. Everybody just bitching and moaning 24/7 doesn't help things grow. Like, I think there is places to show your distrust and like your displeasure with how things are going, but like, I just go on Twitter and I see like 20 people bitching about something every single game week. And it's like, God damn, guys, like that's not going to help people come on. It's not going to help your prices. They're just going to go down further within reason. Like, I mean, if you're bitching about the prize pools, we're like, yeah, those should have been fixed. Like, I don't know, literally 5 years ago. And they are in the same spot they've been in. So like, I can understand those, but at the same time, it's like, I see people like, oh, this card I bought 3 years ago was worth less than it was 3 years ago when I bought it. So, like, this sucks. It's like, yeah, okay, so it's literally every other NFT in the world. Like, it just, I'm not saying it doesn't suck. It does, like, but you got to pick and choose your battles. Also, like, the same thing, like, I've told people, like, I knew some people that were, like, on Sorare, and they just, like, bitched and moaned 24/7. And they're like, this sucks. My shit's worth a lot less. I'm like, guys, if you're, like, that upset with it, you're not having joy, you got to leave that. Like, it's better to leave than just sit there and be miserable 24/7.
How much of classic values do you think are the hope that it turns around? Like if Sorare announced today, we're not changing classic.
I think a lot
what
of
we have is what you got is what you get.
Not much, I don't think.
No, I think a lot of it's laziness and people aren't trying to get out, and there's also not people to buy. I think people also really enjoy the game. Like, I think a lot of people really, really enjoy it. Like, that's why I'm still here. Like, I really like the game. I think it's really well done. It's just is what it is.
But is it, how much of that includes the hope that it gets better? None?
If things don't go down, I'm content. Obviously, I want them to go back up, but like, I really like the game. Like, me not leaving over the past like year and a half was one, prayer that we'd get the button. Got that. Hallelujah. And then two was like, hey, if things don't like go down another 80%, I'm still fine because I enjoy the game enough that it's fine. Like, if things go to 0, obviously I should have left, which totally possible. But if things remain where they're at now, I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. Like, I still enjoy the game.
Yeah. It's just like, I find that there is a large, I don't want to call it a large contingent of people. That's not fair. There is a contingent of people who have become very negative, understandably, because their cards are worth very much less than they are. But they also, and I don't know if it's actually hope, but there is a whole like, I don't want to sell for 5 cents on the dollar just in case it all goes back. And to be so negative while also having a just in case reason to stay feels weird to me.
Yeah. The thing about any of the kind of this stuff that comes out that I don't know, that doesn't sit with me well, or I don't totally get behind, is when people try and like blame Sorare for the value of random tier 3 guy, you know, that they've crafted. And it's like, you know, Sorare don't control prices of anything. You know, the market controls the prices, you know, so if there's not that much demand for any guy, it doesn't matter if they're tier 3, tier 1, tier 0 or whatever. You're kind of mentioning this earlier, Laird, with the whole market dynamic and the way classic cards are, etc. But you know, there's no financial obligation on tier 2s being £20 or over, or if we're talking about limited cards or whatever it might be. And that's always the part that kind of, I don't know if it upsets or frustrates me or whatever. Whenever I see it, I just kind of scroll past it quite quickly, just like, I'm not even going to read the replies to that one, because it's just not something I could ever see myself. It's not something I can relate to. I can't imagine ever, when I've opened some crap cards, I've crafted some crap cards, I never look at it and go, oh, it's only worth £6. That was terrible. The value, like, you guys know me pretty well. Everyone in the chat probably does as well. But the picture on the card is way more important to me than the value of it. You know, values are always changing. I'm more happy if, oh, I can use him, or I like him, or I've seen him play, or that kind of thing. So yeah, when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's just the abstract, like, oh, he's £7 for a tier 3, and it's like, well, if he was £9, would you have been way happier? It's like, yeah, I would have. And it's like, well, really, what are we talking about here? Like, you know, like, so yeah, that's the only part of it doesn't really sit well with me. Otherwise, like, I don't think people should suffer in silence, because sometimes they might need a bit of advice, like Sean's there, like, hey, if this is just too serious or too not fun for you anymore, maybe it's not for you anymore. Or it might be a little bit of, hey, listen, you're upset at £7, you wanted it to be 9. Put a wee bit of cold water in your face here and think, listen, what are you actually upset about? It's probably not much. So yeah, that's kind of where I fall on this stuff.
I was going to add to that, and the thought totally left my
head.
head.
I do that to people, sorry. It's contagious.
Oh, McBride said people vent. And hey, people should vent, but like, if you are blowing up Twitter and all I see when I log in is 20 people that I am not even following bitching about Sorare, I don't think that's going to be a great selling point to a bunch of people to come on and join Sorare and make your prices go up. Like, bitch to like your people in the Discord that you talk to, or like your wife. I'm sure my wife would love to hear about that shit. And go right after she bitches about her day, I'll bitch about mine. But it's like there's different ways to vent. There's also constructive criticism. Like, actually, I'll use McBride because he's a good example. Like, you had complaints about Classic and Super Rare in general, and you posted a long constructive post with your thoughts on it. That's great. Like, if that's getting conversations going, like, whether or not you're right or wrong, like, I read it. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I read it, and it's like, okay, you actually have thought about it, what your issues are. You've tried to come up with some solutions to those issues. That's good. That's like a good type of venting and a good type of plan. Going on Twitter and being like, oh, this shithead that I won last year is worth 10% of what he is. That's so terrible. F so rare. Bring back cat mode, hashtag threshold. Like, that's not helpful. That's just like, okay, just do that in Discord where like you can still bitch, but like so everyone in the world doesn't have to look at it and see it all the time. Because like when all you see is negativity, that does not bring people onto the platform. When you actually see some like, but then like when you see some like negativity with like, hey, this could be how you can like improve upon it. I think this would help. Like, yeah, not everything you're gonna say is right or wrong, but like at least you're trying to help with the problem instead of just like publicly venting.
Quinny, how often do you look at the back of your new cards?
No, I heard that was a thing.
Well, he was like, I like to look at the face on the front. I'm like, hey, we've got backs now.
I've literally never done it.
I believe that.
Not once.
I've done it once or twice, but it's normally around making videos and stuff like that where I think, oh, like, how many times have I used that? No, you can just quickly have a wee peek. Oh yeah, I've used them 6. Cool. Oh, he's won 4 rewards. That's nice. You know, so it's never a pastime. It's not something I've added into my Sorare online time, as it were. It's just maybe more like I'm about to make a video and it's just a quick spin of the card. How about a video? We quick fact check.
I was just curious. I never do it. In fact, I just looked at the back of one and it was Quinny's card, not even my own card.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Marvin.
How do you even do it? I don't even know how to do it.
It's just the new cards.
Oh, it's only the in-season cards?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I literally couldn't give less of a shit about that.
Now that you know,
now that I know, I will never do it. What a great inclusion that is to the game. Wow. Awesome.
I did think it would be somewhat retrofitted, whatever they did to the backs of the cards. Like, seeing what they've done, like I get how last season's 3D cards, it'd be quite difficult to kind of do that in some way. But the 2D cards that we've always been told they have a back, you know, it's there somewhere in the chain or the text.
Have we even told that?
I'm sure we've been told that, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
You could have told me I could go look at the back of my old cards. I wouldn't have known. Now you could have told me that, and like I wouldn't have known next year if you brought it up and been like, "Hey, do you look at the back of your cards?" I would have been like, "Yeah, no."
Have you tried to look in the inside of your card yet?
Condom wrappers? I've opened some condom wrappers.
No.
I actually like the condom wrappers. I think those are pretty. I think that was a very good addition to the game. I thought that was pretty.
Absolutely cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great way to do it. Shocking it took them that long to do that, but it's actually pretty good.
I think some of it was out of their hands.
True. That's valid.
I still just don't like that I have a bunch of players that I can't open yet.
Yeah, I have like...
What's going on? Let's get a picture.
Let's see if there's any new ones I can open now. I was able to open one last week. I had like 20. I have 14 right now. One of them I think is a Midland guy, Laird. Does that excite you?
I probably have one, so
I also have a guy.
Can you sell it for more than I got it for, so that you can help some values here?
No, actually, I was able to open my Midland guy. I have a guy named DeCat. His name is DeCat.
Who was the Midland guy?
Is that goalkeeper?
Kruger Johnson.
Oh,
whatever whatever the fuck his name is, I don't know. But yeah, I have a guy named Nathan DeCat, like DeCat. He's 15. I think he's played as many minutes professionally as Quinny.
Nice.
Yeah. I think he's been in the squad as many times as Quinny has been professionally too. Let me see. Let me verify that. Yeah, because he does not have a photo. He has played in his career 0 minutes and he has been in the squad 3 times in his life.
See, here we go. At 15? That's pretty good.
15, yeah. 4 times. 4 times. I missed one.
How many times has Fred Emmings been in a squad?
He, I think, was in the squad more because they needed like a backup goalie, and St. Clair plays internationally, so I think he's probably been in the squad a lot. Did you see he got cut, Quinny? They didn't renew his contract.
Oh, really? Did
Yeah,
not see that.
Black's in shambles. They didn't renew his contract. Oh, Fred used to be. Oh yeah, Fred's been in the squad like
25 times.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, 25 times.
Is there any, and I'm going to use this term loosely, match worn Fred Emmings attire, do you think?
In Minnesota too.
In circulation?
Ever, yeah. I mean, there are 25 jerseys somewhere. Maybe it's the same jersey 25 times, but
Maybe.
good question.
Don't worry, I can.
Andy will find
Apologies.
out for us shortly. We got anything else? We didn't fix Classic, but I don't think that was the point of today. We'll have to do that next time.
Today. That's another show.
Indeed.
I'm not sure that show exists. I'm not sure.
No, I mean, I do think I think McBride said it like there could possibly be a balancing act that's done to like move a little bit of over, and I think that could help. But I don't know if they will do that or again, I don't think they have interest in Classic. I don't think
That's
they
sort
care.
of where I'm going. Like, I don't think they care enough to do it.
No, I think they can't outright come and say, we don't give a shit about you playing Classic. Like they can't come out and say that, but I think they don't give a shit about playing Classic. Like they don't care.
I think the better incentive would be if they came up with a better non-cash prize for in-season that wasn't Essence, and Classic was literally the only place you could win new cards.
Well, I do think you could do that too. You could remove Essence out of in-season and put it back in Classic.
I think people would spend less on in-season cards, though.
Well, yeah, I do too. I mean, that's everything
that can't be an outcome.
Yeah, but like if you remove some of the prize pool, like the cash prize, and move it to Classic, the same thing. Like
that's why they won't do it.
Correct. That's why I just don't think they care about Classic. I think they just start viewing it as like a season by season game going forward, and that's what they care about.
See, I think that's just got a lot of attrition attached to it. Like my kind of former life before doing all this stuff, I did a lot of sales and a wee bit of business management and whatever. And when I hear like this kind of dynamic on the go with, this has kind of come up in the stream once or twice already. I just hear salesmen talking about selling stuff for best prices and it doesn't matter, get them signed up, get stuff happening. Is the in-season kind of thing, you know, just get the money in, get the commission, get the revenue in, and all the rest of it. And then, but the problem with that, with any business when it goes that way, is that you need to look after customers, you need to deliver stuff, you know. And then you've got that other side of thing that's retention or customer service or however you want to think of it as, that, you know, they can't just keep being like the salesperson in the business, if that makes sense. There needs to be a point where once you've sold the stuff, once you've given the goods over, once you've provided the service or whatever, there is some sort of, and again, to take it with Sorare into a real world example, a guarantee, you know, some sort of, you know, there's always something where you feel you've got bang for your buck. And if, like, I don't mind cards feeling somewhat as a disposable item. Like when I bought my card, I've bought it. If I can sell it, cool, it's a bonus, but it's not the function of the card is to sell it. The function of the card is to have it and use it. But they can't have, it's definitively, the cards are disposable. Buy them for this season and then they're cooked. Buy them again next year and then they're cooked. I think that's too far down the scale. If they go that way, it will be. So that's why I think, again, kind of the genesis of all this, that they need to start giving Classic something. Prestige was the kind of word I used alongside this, because it gives, I think that's the main thing it does add to it, is where that's where the championships are won and lost. That's where the men are separated from the boys. That's where, you know, the long-standing players live. That's where the guys that can just win in-season cards for nothing, that's where they play, you know, and give it a bit more of a space rather than it's just been kicked to the corner and yeah, we'll deal with that next year, you know, which is what it is at the moment. So that's what I hear. Just whenever I hear this stuff, I just hear salespeople versus customer service people, and there always has to be a kind of middle ground in business for these types of things, I think.
It's an incredible job bringing us back to the topic today of the Sorare World Championships. My gosh. My gosh. Thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to this guy right here. Quinny, thank you so much for coming on today. Sean, for that perspective as well on the live finals. I think that was fun. That was a very good time. So, gentlemen, thank you for that. Thanks, everyone, for coming. And don't forget to get your steps in.